You're watching TelecomTV and our continuing coverage of the development of SDN and NFV. And joining me now to discuss NFV, I have two distinguished colleagues here. On my immediate left, I have Vinay Saxena, who is HP Fellow and Chief Architect at the Communications Solutions Business Group at HP. Vinay, good to talk to you again. And next to Vinay is David Robertson, and David is at Australian operator Telstra, and you're the Director of Transport and Routing Engineering at Telstra. Good to have you here as well. We are looking at the development of NFV and SDN, and proofs of concept are an important part of how we develop this and how we test it and how we can show and highlight what's possible. David, what's Telstra doing with NFV? What's Telstra's view of NFV at this moment?
Telstra is the leading service provider in Australia. We're the number one in fixed, we're the number one in mobiles, number one in Wi-Fi, enterprise and wholesale. For us, the biggest challenge that we face is obviously the growth of traffic. For us, the amount of content that's been flowing through the network needs to be addressed. So what we look towards NFV and SDN is emerging technologies that actually may solve the problem that we're facing. So when I look at NFV from a Telstra perspective, the areas that we're sort of mainly focusing on is around control, dynamic access, and how can NFV and SDN help us with that? How can they help with the reconvergence of transmission and IP? What can they do with IoT and 5G? So for us, we've got to look towards how this industry can actually take on those challenges. Our immediate thoughts are, how can we bring them into alleviating some of the problems associated with the length of time we need with OSS and IT to make the network capable for services. So our area of focus is working with HP and others around creating proof of concepts, and also then taking those into the next stage of development.
Because this is very early. I mean, you are an early adopter here, aren't you?
Yeah, we are an early adopter, but we are the leading service provider. So taking risk is not something that comes natural, and we need to make sure that we do it in a manner that our customers can accept it.
Vinny, how did you get involved with Telstra on the proof of concept here?
So we have a very long working relationship with Telstra. We've been working with Telstra for upwards of a few decades as a leading provider of compute infrastructure, software solutions, services providers. So when we started on this journey of this proof of concept, we started working with David, our partners, and looking at the problems that David is trying to solve in the core of the network, and say, what do we need to do to alleviate the problems that David highlighted as the traffic grows, as the number of systems that are growing within the network. How do we need to deploy this next generation infrastructure platform on which the new functions will run? How do we orchestrate them? How do we manage them? So towards that end, what can we do so that we can learn and also make sure that David and Telstra get the right outputs that they can then drive towards the next stages of this journey.
And David, what is this specific proof of concept? Because I know the ETSI proof of concepts, we have a numbering scheme here, and this is proof of concept 38. It addresses a specific goal, is that right?
Yeah, no, it is. First of all, we like number 38, so that was pleasing. But no, what we're attempting here to do, and I think what HP really helped us with, was that we brought the best of breed technologies together. So we didn't just rely on HP. HP helped us with bringing F5 to the party, Alcatel-Lucent with Nuage, and then we looked at delivering a full layer 7 stack of solution that provided value-added services through service orchestration. So that was the main thing we wanted to get out of it. In doing it though, one of the things that we really noticed, the most important thing for us was around MANO, maintenance and operations. So we have a strong heritage of looking after not just creating technology, but then managing it through its full life cycle. And one of the first considerations we need to do, and using partners like HP for, is to look at how we can actually do that management. I think NFV or HP NFV Director actually provides that opportunity. It did allow us to actually bring together each of those disparate technologies, but constructed in a manner that allows us to know that we can actually operate and manage that into the future.
Because Vinny, HP is more than just server provision. You're taking great strides in orchestration.
Absolutely. And again, if you look at the heritage of where NFV Director is coming from, we have a very, very rich heritage in deploying activation and provisioning solutions. So we've been doing flow-through provisioning and activation work in the carrier networks for a long period of time. And what we did a few years ago, decided to take it to the next layer with the advancement of technology in virtualization and cloud. Say, what do we need to do in our existing products, and how do we evolve this product to bridge the gaps as carriers look at NFV and SDN? So what do we need to do on the next generation environment, so the virtualized platform? What do we need to do to integrate with the legacy environments? And how do we bring both fulfillment and assurance together? And I think that was the key on ensuring that we can bring fulfillment and assurance both in a single pane of glass that gives the operator the flexibility. I can not only fulfill the orders, deploy the new functions, but I can also do the full lifecycle management of those functions moving forward.
We're hearing a lot more about lifecycle management now, also lifecycle service orchestration as a third strand, SDN, NFV, and this whole orchestration across the lifetime of services. Is that something that's been a bit overlooked and we need to focus more on, you would say, Vinny?
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion within the community around the whole lifecycle management. And the reason why there is a lot of discussion in this is the operators in the past have struggled in integrating new systems into the OSS/BSS system. So historically, what has taken longest is the fact that it takes a long time to integrate new functionality into the carrier's OSS/BSS. So how do we do it better with new technologies that are coming from the classical IT domain, the new workflow advancements that have taken place? So orchestration is the next way to build out complex services by relying on other subsystems to bring together various different things that I can stitch together in a cohesive fashion to deliver end-to-end network services that David talked about, whether that be load balancing, VPN services, security services, and so on and so forth.
And David, is this part of your roadmap with NFV going forward, orchestration playing that crucial part?
Well, orchestration's, I think, key. I think the ability for us, and when we look forward, we look towards the medium and the longer term. And our roadmap must actually take into account the whole operation and organisational way that we actually deploy SDN and NFV. We're rich in heritage in the sense that we actually have managed platforms and infrastructure for nearly over a century for us. And therefore we look towards building our roadmaps to incorporate SDN and NFV, or at least the infrastructure and the ecosystem around SDN and NFV going forward. One of the most important things, I think, though, is how do we continue to evolve this industry, and how does open standards actually play out? We look towards HP to make sure that they help us with understanding that. They help us guide us through and actually help being one of our partners that we actually can contribute to an open environment. And I think if we do that, then the whole industry can progress and move forward.
But would you concur that an open environment, open standards is the way forward with this?
Absolutely, and I think the key in this new next generation networks is the fact that we need to build systems with open systems design. We need to think about open standards, not necessarily just plain standards, but it could be de facto standards. Things like OpenStack, things like ODL, which is community driven or driven from the open source realm. So we need to look at technologies that provide that openness, because what we really need is innovation, and to drive innovation we need to have open systems and an open standards-based approach, and which will breed a new next generation set of functions, new way of doing things, and providing operators the capabilities that they can then start to look at launching services faster, next generation services that will give them additional revenues and so forth.
And I guess at some stage, David, we stop talking about NFV as something new and different, and it just becomes part of the fabric.
Look, I think the way that we're viewing it at Telstra, and I think in the main carriers, is that network functions will continue to evolve based on the demand of our customers. So in the way that they use our networks, in the service that they're requesting of us, soon we'll be talking about microservices, we'll be talking about segment routing, and those will become major topics within our industry. However, when I look at it and I think about where I've been, I go, okay, we're going through a technology investigation phase at the moment. We're about to enter the network investigation phase where we actually do our first deployments. We make sure we then we make it into a production environment, then we've got to scale this thing. So at the moment we know what we're fronting into, however we've still got to be able to scale it going forward, and then I look to migrate. At the end of the day, I've got to look to migrate. The one thing I can be sure of is the network will be both physical and virtual. And as we sort of go through that evolution and we actually conquer each one of those 5 phases, I see clarity that there'll be the next challenge appear during that period. There'll be the next evolution that we need to take on. And when that comes to fore, NFV will just be considered infrastructure, which means we forget about it. We just take it for granted.
Vinay, plenty of challenges ahead then. So, final question. How is HP going to continue to help the likes of Telstra to evolve their networks?
So as HP, one of the major things that we are trying to drive is to enable our customers to look at this technology and what this technology brings for them, from everything from helping them improve their networks, helping them bring in new services, and helping them manage the networks that they're going to build out effectively. So towards that end, from a platform perspective, what do we need to do? So as we do these proof of concepts with David and other customers, we want to learn from them and understand what are the things that we need to improve in our products and solution. We also need to work with our carriers to help them educate and help build the methods and procedures that are required as they look at transitioning from proof of concepts to the trials to the actual deployments, because that gives us the necessary learnings that we can then drive in optimizing our products and solution to help evolve the community altogether. So, these proof of concepts are a great way for us to learn, and also to take these learnings from Telstra and apply it to other carriers as well, so that others can learn from the experience that we are gaining here. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we are trying to draw out of this.
Vinay and David, thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.